Thank you very much, Becky. It's a real privilege to be here. And Craig, thank y'all for the opportunity to spend some time together. And yes, I am a native Texan. And, you know, if you're a Texan, that's pretty important. If you're not a native Texan, I know you got here as soon as you could. So welcome to Texas. We're glad you're here. I was actually born on Texas Independence Day. Does anybody have any idea what day that is? March the 2nd. That's exactly right. And so I love being a Texan. Doesn't matter where you travel, anywhere in the world, actually. If somebody asks you, where are you from? You can say, I'm from Texas. And they immediately recognize what country, and they always have some kind of comment. But it is certainly good to be with you today. I'm very excited about some of the things that I want to share with you. My name is Carley, and I'm a travel agent. I help people go places. Not those exotic vacation destinations, but that next big thing in your career or your life that you felt like was just a little out of your reach. I work with frustrated executives in large metropolitan cities like Austin or Dallas or New York or Seattle, as well as entrepreneurs and business owners of the rural seedbed communities of the American dream. And part of what I do is I help revive those dreams and then chart a course and pull the trigger on that next big destination in your career or in your life. How many of you would like to hear a little bit about that today? Sure, I know you would. So, I want to start off by asking you, what is your dream job? What is your dream destination? If you could just pick anything or any place that you really, what kind of job you wanted to have or what you would like to do with your career, what would lead you to a place of significance, what would that look like? Now, that's a really important question that we have to answer. We have to come to terms with, we have to think about it. And some of those dreams, life has a way of pushing down. And we forget about them. But there were things that you dreamed about a long time ago or maybe even recently. And we want to nurture those a little bit today. We want to bring those out into the open. So Melissa called me up one day and Melissa said, Scott, I need somebody to talk to. And I said, okay, so what do you want to talk about? Well, I've got an idea. Can we meet at Starbucks? And I said, sure. So we set up a time and I got there just a little bit early. And in a few minutes, I saw Melissa walk in and she's a blonde-headed, wiry young lady that is in a dead-end job she's not very excited about. And so she found the table outside where I was sitting, and she came in and sat down and pulled out some crumpled, folded pieces of paper and said, man, I'm so glad that you're willing to meet with me. I've got a dream. I've got something I want to do. And I said, well, what is it? And she unfolded her papers and looked up with kind of a great big question mark on her face, but kind of excited too. And she said, well, it's called Venture Girls. And I said, all right, so what is Venture Girls? And she said, well, it's just this idea. I know it's a little crazy, but, I'm a single woman. And I know there's a lot of other single women who in their, 30s or early 40s who every day they go to work. And after they go to work, they come home, they sit on the couch, they eat TV dinners, and they're just bored stiff. And they want something to do. And I've got some ideas, and I think it's a little crazy, but I've got some ideas of helping those women get off of their couch and out mixing with other people and just having some fun and taking an adventure. And that's why I call it Venture Girls. And I said, okay, well, what does it look like? I mean, what have you done so far? And she said, well, I've got this moron working on a website, and it's not going very well. And the things that I'm trying to get up are kind of sketchy. But here's the deal. I want to do things like, I don't know, maybe the girls could do paintings where we all go to a place and we do paintings together, or maybe pottery, or maybe we do skydiving, or even skeet shooting. And I said, these are girls you're talking about? She said, yep, Venture Girls. And so Melissa and I worked on this for the next several weeks. And as we worked on it, different pieces of the puzzle had to come together. And eventually, we got her first meeting set up. She was really excited about it. We put it on the calendar. We had to have a go live date on the website. We had an e-commerce set up, and so Melissa comes in and she said, I'm really excited about this, Scott, but I'm kind of nervous too. And I said, what are you nervous about? And she said, I need 35 people to show up at this event. And I've invited a lot of people, and I just don't know about all the money and how much it's going to cost and the team that's going to help me. And I said, well, let's work through that. And so we had a venue picked out. And for this particular one, there was a lady who volunteered her house. It was a large living room. And in that living room, like in a kitchen area, and then in a foyer area, and then one of the bedrooms, they had 3 separate events. One was doing some oils, and another one over here was, seemed like it was some kind of music or something, and then there was another one. And so the 3 different positions were when the ladies came in, they'd have 3 different things that they could do, or they could rotate around. And I think she even had a massage therapist doing chair massages. So we looked it over, and I said, okay, well, it looks like you've got your stuff together, and you've invited quite a lot of people, and you've got the e-commerce set up so they can, RSVP and make their payment. And so, Melissa, it's time to pull the trigger. It's time to take that leap. Are you really ready to do that leap? And she looked at me and almost tears in her eyes, great big smile, and she said, let's do it. I said, okay, then you just need to pull the trigger and push the button and make the thing live. And that's exactly what she did. And that's really what I'm here today to talk about, is your leap of a lifetime. For Melissa, she was in a dead-end job that wasn't going anywhere. And somehow or another, she allowed her dreams to begin to flourish. And she took a big chance. She took a risk at doing something she had always wanted to do, and she didn't know how it was going to turn out. And you're in that same place where you've got to let your dreams build to the place where you're willing to take some risk. And she did. And when she hit live over the next few days, there were 32 of the 35 signed up. And she called me the day after the event, and she was just bubbling over with excitement about what had happened. Those kinds of things can happen for every one of us. They're the leap of a lifetime. George Lucas said, you've got to love something enough that you can take a risk, that you can leap over the hurdles and break through the walls that are always going to be in front of you. Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So somehow or another, all of us have got to learn to dream. We've got to learn to dream of things that we really want to see happen and that we really want to do in our life. So what is your big, hairy, audacious dream or goal that you would like to see in your life? If you could have your dream job and you could go anywhere, you could do anything, what would that look like? That's something I want you to think about. Now, earlier when you walked in, there was a postcard that was given to you. And on that postcard, I want you to self-address one side of it. But over to the left is a place for you to write down your dream job or the greatest thing that you'd love to see happen in your life. And whether you write that down now or you write it down in a little bit, I want you to start thinking about it. Just like Melissa had to think about hers, I want you to start thinking about yours. There's a lot of really cool things that we can do. As a matter of fact, in all honesty, you can do or be anything you want. You just have to dream about it, and you just have to chart a course to it. One of the things that I heard a long time ago that made a huge impact on my life was, how big are your dreams? How big are your dreams? Because if your dreams aren't big enough that you need God's help, your dreams are too small. And so if you think this is something you can just do on your own and wiggle through it and make it happen, your dreams aren't big enough. So I like this one. OnStar, take me to the Eiffel Tower. I don't want to go to Fredericksburg. I don't want to go to Big Ben. I want to go across the ocean somewhere. I want to do something big. And think about that. What would that look like for you? I guess one of the important things that we have to learn is that there are things that can crush our dreams. How many of you can relate to that? Anybody? That's why you're sitting here. Well, I can understand that because after 23 years of marriage, I went through a divorce. And when I went through my divorce, my background is theology. My training is in theology. I was a minister and spent years traveling as an evangelist around the country, spent 10 years pastoring. And then I had a train wreck and I went through a divorce. And in 30 days, I lost my career. I lost my residence. I lost my income. I lost a lot of things. Thank God I didn't lose my girls. Still have them. But I lost my reason to get up in the morning and some place to go. And you talk about having your life crushed and your dreams crushed. Not only did I just lose a job, I had to change a career. Because there's something about divorce and church work that just doesn't go very well together. And I had to retool. And I don't mind telling you that in that time, it was tough. As a matter of fact, it was real tough. There were days that I didn't want to get out of bed. There were days that I didn't want to meet the world. And I had to make some changes. I had to make some decisions. And one of the things that I had to do was find a way to heal and find a way to start dreaming again. I'm a big believer in having a dream and a passion of something that you want to do. So I don't know what your story is. I don't know what you've been through in life. I don't know what your career history used to look like. But I can tell you today is a brand new day. Now is a time to start dreaming again. And one of the ways that you can dream again is start surrounding yourself with people and opportunities that look good. I met somebody that walked in today and they said, you know what, Scott, this is just my second time to be here. But it feels good to be around a group of people, and I recognize I'm not the only one. That there are other people who've been through the same thing that I've been through, and we're all in this dream together to launch a new business or to get a new job or get replaced in our career. I think that's awesome, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everybody's here. So I had to start thinking about that. And I did. I started networking. I tried to get out of the house, and there was a friend who, almost just an acquaintance, and he recommended, he said, Scott, there's a group that meets on Saturday mornings, and you ought to show up at that group. And I said, well, Saturday mornings are kind of my time, and through the week I work, but I don't really want to do something on Saturday morning. And he said, you need to show up. And I started showing up on Saturday morning to a group that met here in Austin over at Panera. And when I walked in, I started surrounding myself with people that were pretty awesome. There was Jim. Jim used to work for FedEx. As a matter of fact, he was in charge of their logistics around the world. He doesn't work for FedEx anymore. And over here was Mike. Mike is incredibly brilliant. And he had a very high-level position, and that position left him. And now he's out finding another position. Met people, worked for the government and very high levels, and so I'm looking around the room and I'm going, wow, I'm not the only one. And as I got around some of those people, it was pretty interesting to hear that their stories were not very different from my stories. So as I did, I just began to try to dream. I just began to try to think of what I could do to, what kind of job did I really want? What kind of career did I really want? Have you ever been in a place where you knew what you want, but you didn't know what its name was? Have you ever knew that there was something you wanted to do, but it just didn't exactly, you didn't know what company or how it was going to work out? Anybody been in that position before? Yeah, well, me too. I knew I wanted to travel. I knew that I wanted to be a speaker. I wanted to continue my coaching and my training. That was really important to me. And I didn't mind doing it around Austin, but I wanted to do it in other places as well. And so I had to chart a course. I had to figure out, how am I going to get that? Well, that's one of the things that we have to do. One of the things that we have to do is not only do we dream again, but we have to chart a course. We have to figure out how we're going to get from where we are to where we want to be. And sometimes that can be a big challenge. Now, my daughter is getting married, and she's getting married next month. And we really hoped that she would get married somewhere in Austin, but instead, she chose the Maya Riviera down in Mexico. And initially, it was just going to be her and Dominic. They would go down for a week, and they would get married, have a week of honeymoon, and it was all going to be great. But then Dominic's mother said, well, hey, I'll be there. And so when she said she was coming, then Lauren said, hey, you need to be there. And so making plans to go down to the Maya Riviera for their wedding. Wasn't really exactly what we wanted to do, but we're going. So think about that. What do you have to do to take a trip like that? What's involved in something like that? Well, passports. You got to have a passport. Can you just walk down to the post office and pick up a passport? No, you can't. So FYI, those of you who don't already have yours yet, if you want a passport, man, that could be anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks or longer to get all that information. And not only that, my daughter had her car broken into, her driver's license, social security card stolen 2 weeks, 2 weeks before we sent in all the passport stuff. You talk about wrinkles, it was an issue. But anyway, man, we have to come up with the passport, and then we have to plan the wedding, and then you have to coordinate with all the stuff that's going to be on the beach and the colors and what they look like, and if there's going to be a reception, and if there's going to be who's going to actually do the ceremony, what kind of vows are going to take place, all the stuff that goes along with pulling off a wedding, even a small one. Well, we've been working on that and going through the details back and forth and emailing back and forth and people misunderstanding what we want and what have you. Can anybody relate? Okay? So here's what I found out. What I found out is that there are many people who spend more time planning a vacation or a wedding than they do their own life or their career. And they think somehow or another it's just going to happen and come together. And that's just simply not the case. You know, if you're going to do something awesome and wonderful and exciting, then you've got to figure out what that looks like. And you've got to chart a course to it. And so when I started thinking about, all right, I want to be a national speaker, and I want to teach workshops nationally around the country to a higher level of target market and executives that I've been speaking to before, how am I going to do that? Well, the first thing I'm going to have to do is upgrade my peer group. And doesn't that sound terrible? To upgrade your peer group? So I didn't tell Herdy and all my friends that's what I was doing. But seriously, I had to augment things. And when my friend told me about that meeting on Saturday, that's what he said. He said, I'm going to introduce you to people that, Scott, they're way up here. They're on a different highway than you're on. And they're doing things that you haven't done yet, but that you want to do. And so I did. I started showing up on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, and I'd look around the room, and man, I didn't know anybody in the room. And so I'd be introduced to a few people, and I'd be kind of impressed, like Jim. I was impressed by him. For some reason, he kind of took a liking to me, and we visited. And I couldn't remember their names. I mean, the next week I would come back, and I would say, hi, how are you doing? And he would say, fine, Scott, how are you doing? I'm doing good. And in his mind, he was saying, what's my name? What's my name? And I couldn't remember. So I started making a list. I'd pull out my phone, and on the task list, I would start listing the names of some of the people that I had met that I wanted to get to know better. And I was hoping that things would just snap, and come together and things would really happen. And they didn't. I just kept going, and I kept meeting people, and I kept getting to know them. And the better I got to know them, then we started having conversations. And I suppose I went there for maybe a year, maybe a year and a half, a year and a few months. And finally, Peter, who was running the group, he said, Scott, what is it that you really want to do? What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? What is your dream, job? What would you like to do? And I said, Peter, I really want to work with business owners. I have a gift at time management, and I want to help them with that. I love to travel. I'd like to get out of Austin and travel around the country, and I'd love to do that. And he said, really? He said, I know just the thing. Why didn't you say something before? And I looked around and I thought, I had been saying something, but it wasn't time. And he said, well, let me introduce you to Sam. And so he did. He introduced me to Sam, and Sam and I had an interview time. Sam was a chair for Vistage. Vistage in his organization of roundtable of CEOs and business owners, small and medium-sized business owners, and they meet once a month for an all-day retreat, and they bring in speakers, and those speakers speak for a half day on a specific topic, and then the speaker leaves and the group discusses it, and it's kind of peer-to-peer coaching that they do among themselves. It's really powerful. There are 10 of those groups in Austin, but they are all over the country. That was my dream job, was to be able to be one of those speakers, and I didn't even know it. And so he said, when I met with Sam, he said, all right, Scott, I want you to put a presentation together, and it's got to be awesome, it's got to be incredible, and it's got to be better than you've ever done before. It needs to be 3 hours on a very specific topic, and I want you to put it together. And I said, okay, so I did, and after I put it together, and I kind of ran through the draft of it with him, he said, all right, well, we're going to set you up, and the first one you're going to do is pro bono. Does anybody know what pro bono means? Free, that's right. It's a fancy word for free. You're doing it for free. But, everything's great, because Hal Cherney up in Long Island, New York, wants to hear your presentation. So you just need to book a flight, and you need to book a hotel, and get a rental car, and it's all being pro bono. That's right. And so you get up there and you do your presentation, and when you do your presentation, you just need to give it your very best. And after you do it, they're going to score you on a scale of 1 to 5 in 3 different categories. And if you score high, then we'll approve you and we'll put your name on the list. So I don't mind telling you, I had charted the course, I had a dream, I had a desire, but now it's time to take what? A leap of a lifetime. And so I did. I can remember when he started talking about all of that, and he said, okay, you've got your gig, here's your date. Then I have to make the decision to buy the ticket and say yes to that. And I don't mind telling you, that was kind of a big deal because money was tight. Anybody have that issue? Folks, I didn't have a credit card that could support what it took to make that trip. And I was in a fix. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And somehow or another, I was able to do some extra work and pull some things together to pull that almost $800 to get that trip and to get that ticket and to get that car and to get that hotel and to get up there to do that presentation. Oh, my word. Man, I went in there and I was so nervous. I can remember walking in. I remember finding the place. I'm not used to driving in New York. And has anybody here been to New York City? Yeah. I didn't know that there was an $8 toll to get into the city. I can remember walking in or driving in, drove my little tiny rental car, and there was a lane that said cash only. And so I handed the guy 10, and he only handed me $2 back, and I looked up and I said, how much does it cost to get in here? And he gave me a really dirty look. He didn't smile. He had real dry humor. He pointed to the sign that said $8. And so then I pulled in. Now try to find parking in New York City. Well, anyway, it was quite a deal. But I did it. I took that leap, and I went. And I can remember walking in that day. I had that same portfolio over there. I walked in. I had my PowerPoint presentation. I had the handouts, and I was nervous. Man, I had to score well. I had to do good. And it was first time I'd given that specific presentation, but I did. And it did turn out well. And they participated. It was very interactive. We talked about focus on what matters, and and we help people to define their roles, and we help them to come up with the activities that reflected their roles and a calendar and all of the stuff that my presentation was supposed to be about. And then it was over. And when it was over, Hal came up to me and he shook my hand. He said, "Scott, that was really good. Thank you for staying. We'll be in touch." You ever heard that before? We'll be in touch. And I said, "Thank you." Man, I walked out of there and I was praying the whole time I was walking. I was saying, "God, I hope I made an impression on those people. Lord, I hope that there was somehow or another I was able to help satisfy a need that at least a few of those businessmen would appreciate." And so, oh my word, it was tough. It was tough. I can remember getting back to the hotel and Hal told me, he said, "Now, in a few days," said, "we'll put up your numbers and you'll be able to see how you did." And so I went back to the hotel, as soon as I got there, and I went on the computer and I pulled it up. Nothing. And I thought, oh man. And so my flight was out that night, and I got back to Austin about midnight 30, and so when I got home, I turned on the computer, typed it up, got the password, nothing. And I thought, hey, how long does it take, man? I taught you on time management. Get in there and fill out those numbers. And so man, one day went by, no numbers. 2 days went by, no numbers. 3 days went by, numbers started showing up. And so on a scale of 1 to 5, they rate you. And they rate you in your topic. They rate you in your delivery, your ability to deliver it. And then they rate you on its application, whether or not this is something we could really use in the workforce. I knew that I had to get something high before they would even approve me, much less promote me. So on my delivery, I got a 5. On the content, I got a 4.8. And on the ability to use it in their business, I got a 4.8 as well. Man, I don't mind telling you, I was dancing, I was jumping up and down. Man, I was so excited because I took that leap, and that leap seemed to work out for me, and it seemed like everything was going to be great. But, sometimes when everything looks good, you still have to expect some hurdles along the way. Can you relate to that? And so, that was a little bit frustrating because I thought, okay, man, I'm on the home stretch now, and I just sit back in my chair. They're going to be calling me, and this is going to work great. And so a week went by, and another week went by, and then 4 weeks went by. And that was, in May, and then June, and July. And I called up Sam and I said, "Hey, Sam, how you doing?" Have you ever had to kind of pump your voice up? You can relate to that? Pump your voice up? "Hey, Sam, how you doing?" Well, Sam, he's just a ball of energy. "Scott, I'm doing great. How are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just doing fine, Sam. Just doing great. Hey, I've got a question. I got some pretty good reviews." "Oh, your numbers were great. Congratulations." And that was in May. It's July. Have any idea what's going on? "Oh, it takes time. Don't sweat it." I have a lot of sweat area up here. Okay. And I said, "Oh, that's okay. I won't sweat it." I was pretty nervous. Man, I thought I had given everything, taken a leap. I'm pulling my parachute. Come on, parachute, open up. And I was a little bit nervous. And so I could remember, hung up the phone, and I said, okay. I said to myself, "Self, you need to stay encouraged. You knock down a hurdle, you need to get up and keep going. Because you took your leap, you did what you said you were going to do, you need to keep going." I want to stop right here and just ask you. I hope that you've thought about your dream job or your dream destination, or the thing that you would really like to see happen for your life. I hope that right now, if you haven't already done it, I want you to flip that postcard over, and up on the upper left-hand corner, I want you to write down, what would your dream job be? Where would you really like to be employed? What kind of work would you really like to be doing? What is it that is a passion, a burden, something that's fueling your heart? What is it that if God were to send you a miracle, that's what it would look like? I want you to write that down right now. Because in a little bit, I'm going to collect these postcards from you, and then I'm going to send them back to you in a couple of weeks. But I need to know, you need to know. More than I need to know, you need to know. What is your dream job? What does it look like? Figure that out, because even God can't take you to your dream job if you don't know what it looks like. So I want you to write that down. And after you write that down, I want you to write down the leap. The leap of a lifetime. There are things that we have to do to validate our leap of faith. So I had to validate my leap of faith. After my interview with Sam, I had to validate the fact that I was willing to go to New York City. I was willing to buy that ticket. I was willing to get that hotel, put that presentation together, and actually stand in front of a bunch of strangers in a foreign land called Long Island. And so I need you to write down, what is that leap of faith? On that postcard, I want you to put it down right there. That leap of faith. What single, significant, irreversible action would you be willing to take to validate your leap of faith? You know, my daughter she'll graduate next month, as an attorney, from law school. You know how she validated it? After she got her first degree, we just told her, honey, we love you, but we're not paying for the second one. So if you want the second one, you're going to have to pay for it yourself. She went out and got a loan, and she enrolled. She tried out 4 or 5 schools, got accepted at St. Mary's, and so she went in, and she's been forking it out, and she's been going through it, and next month she'll graduate with a law degree. That was her leap of faith. That was her leap of a lifetime, her willingness to commit to something. What's yours? What leap of faith? You know, it could be that you're going to have to retool. You may need to sign up for some courses. You may need to forget about the career you're in or were in and the company that you used to work for and get rid of some of that memorabilia from the past so that you can start thinking about something brand new that you've never done before. Being in a room with people that you don't know and starting something a little bit different, something maybe that you've been passionate about. What leap of faith are you willing to take to get there? For me, it was that one. And I'm very happy to tell you that Vistage hired me, and now I do. I travel for them. As a matter of fact, tomorrow morning I get up at 5 o'clock, or I'll be on a plane at 5 o'clock, and I travel to New York City, and then I leave there and I go up to Chicago. Literally, for the last 2 years, I've been traveling around the country helping Vistage. I can't tell you how exciting and fulfilling that was. Let me tell you how it happened. So finally August rolled around. Okay, I called Sam in July, and I said, Sam, something's got to happen. You know, I'm really excited about this, but I need an engagement. I need somebody to pay me to come speak. And so August, I don't know, I think it was August 3rd, I got a phone call. And she said, hey, this is Suzanne, and I'm in San Francisco, and I've got 2 Vistage groups, and I know this is short notice. Could you come next month and present to my 2 groups? And I said, let me check my calendar. Yes, I could be there. She said, if you'll just go through the Vistage website, they'll take care of all your travel expenses and travel arrangements. And I said, okay, no problem. I hung the phone up. I danced a little bit around the living room. And then the next day, I got another call. Hey, Scott, this is Sue, and I'm in Palo Alto, California. And I've got 2 CE groups that I need you to come and speak for. Is there any way that you could get to us in September? And I said, let me check my schedule. I'm available. Yeah, I'll take care of that. A couple of days later, my phone rang, and Jim said, hey, Scott, I'm up in Seattle, Washington, and I've got 2 extraordinary groups. Or is there any way that you could get up here and help us with a presentation? I really like your topic. Let me check my schedule. I'm available. And I don't mind telling you that it was a lot. It's just tremendous. And for the first 6 months, there were a whole lot of those, and then it took a pause for a while. I learned that was normal. And then in the summer, it started booking up again. And it's been an incredible change for me. It's been an incredible change for business, and it's brought me to a place that I could do the things that I really want to do. So what does a leap of faith look like for you? What does a leap of faith look like that you could step out of your comfort zone, do like I did on a Saturday and go visit with people and get to know people that maybe you've never known before? Step into something that's outside of what you're accustomed to and say, I'm going to make that happen. What is that for you? You need to write that down. That's your commitment. For Melissa, it was when she hit go live on the website, and it went live, and she just had to hope 35 or 32 people would sign up. So I don't know what your leap of faith is today, but if you think you know what it is, and you think you're ready, you're willing to take a leap of faith to go after that next big thing for your life or your career, I want you to stand. Now, you know, I've got a friend, Bill Marquardt. He was a business partner for mine for a while. And he was in the Air Force. In the Air Force, he had a job that was a lot of fun. Anybody here been in the Air Force? He's called a jump master. You know what a jump master does? Jump master stands at the door. And as those Army people come up and they hook up their rope to jump out, Bill stands there and says, good luck. Yep. Click. Good luck. Click. Yep. Good luck. And they take a leap of faith. Now, is it just a blind leap of faith when you jump out? Not at all. Because they know they're going to pull a cord. And when they do, this parachute's going to go up and it's going to help them. How many of you believe that you've got a parachute in your God and your Savior and in putting a plan together that's going to help you achieve your goals? Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to fill out that card. And then I want you to give that card to me in a little bit. And what I'm going to do is in a few weeks, I'm going to send it back to you. Because I want you to remember today. And I hope that there's something's been said today that would help revive some of your dreams and start putting some clarity to it. I hope that for every one of you, there's something that will move inside of you to take that leap of a lifetime, to take that jump, to take that single, irreversible commitment, to validate your commitment to that new place in your career, your job, or whatever it's going to be, and then take that step. Now, the last slide that I'm going to show you today is that I told you that in, I guess it was 2004, I went through a divorce and a pretty painful experience. But a few years ago, I met an incredible woman, and we started dating, and now we are the Magnificent Seven. And so it's Carol and I, and those are my two girls by me, and those are her kids on the left, and now it's all of us together. That was another leap of a lifetime. And that happened Thanksgiving Day just a few months ago. If it looks like I have a glow, it's because I'm in marital bliss. So I can tell you that leaps of a lifetime can be an extraordinarily fun thing.